All right, if you love painting, but every time you look at your paintings, it feels like 10 different artists made it, this video is definitely for you. So maybe you've tried watercolor, acrylics, realism, loose painting, tutorials, Pinterest references, and you're sitting there wondering, what is my style? Like, what am I actually, like, what am I going to get known for? I don't think you need to go find your art style. I think you need to stop doing a few things that keep you from recognizing the styles that already like exist within you. I take notes for everything. So if it looks like I'm reading from a script, I'm just trying to stay on topic. And today I'm going to show you what helps me personally finally start making artwork that feels and looks like me, what's recognizable. Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm a full-time artist, teacher, and mom. And this channel is basically where I'm going to be sharing what I'm learning about painting, finding your voice as an artist, and actually building a business around the things that you create. So if that sounds like you, you're in the right place. Okay, so these are just some things that I used to think. So I'm just going to kind of go through them. For the longest time, I thought having an art style meant I needed to pick one thing. Like I could only paint horses, or I could only paint, trees or landscapes. Well, I hate landscapes. Or one medium, one subject, one color palette, one way of painting, right? And every time I made something that looked different, I thought I was starting over. That's so funny because like that hits hard. All right, so some things that we do as artists, I feel like kind of ruin things for us is following too many tutorials, right? You learn how someone else solves the paintings, jumping from trend to trend. This is popular. Maybe I should paint this. Like we do that all the time, trying to make everything match. Oh my gosh. Comparing your beginning to someone else's 20-year body of work, that's devastating. Don't do that to yourself. And one I really want to talk about is consuming more art than you're creating. That's huge because that used to be me to a T. So I wanted to make sure I put that one there. Sometimes we're spending too much time looking at everybody else's work that we can't hear our own creative voice. Please put that on a sticky note somewhere for yourself. Like, if you can't hear your own creative voice, you're not going to find your style, your voice, all the things. Okay, so make sure you're not consuming more art than you're creating. The third bullet point I have is, let's see. Yeah, what I don't think most artists want is just a recognizable palette. We want to make something that feels like us, like that deep connection feels like us, not just a color palette, right? You want to put several paintings against the wall, and if they're completely different subjects, but feel like they belong to the same artist. So that was one thing that I had the hardest time trying to wrap my mind around when I was trying to figure out my voice and my style was, I want to have 15 to 16 paintings in one gallery or one restaurant, but I want them all to feel like they came from the same artist. It's crazy. Like just even taking notes down during this whole process for myself, it's like, wow, total flashbacks of like all the struggles, right? It's crazy. I'm hoping this is going to help you guys. Eventually, you want someone to see one of your paintings without your name attached and say, I know who painted that. That's the dream, right? But you don't get there by deciding what your style is. You get there by creating enough work to discover it. That is the golden nugget, okay? If you take away anything from this today, that is it. You don't get there by deciding what your style is. You get there by creating enough work to discover it. That's huge. That's so important, guys. Okay, so now we're going to go into why we're not there yet. Okay, so number one, you're trying to choose your style instead of discovering it. Style isn't something you pick up from a menu, okay? Your style emerges from repeated choices. So what colors do you repeat all the time? What subject matter? What marks, like specific marks that you're creating, drawing, sketching, painting? What emotions are you trying to convey? What compositions? What details do you exaggerate? Oh my gosh, I love that. For me, it's definitely color and pattern. I totally love exaggerating color and pattern. That's just some examples. Okay. Also, number 2, you're not creating enough. So this one might sting a little bit, which is good. Okay, I was in that boat. If any of you out there are OCD too, I absolutely have this thing of not wasting anything. Like, I was afraid to pull out my mediums, to pull out the paper, all of my spray paint, my acrylic, like all the things. I was scared to use it and waste it on paintings, drawings, sketches, anything that was going to be ugly, not profitable, like, all the things. I was scared to waste my stuff, right? But that's what kills your artistic spirit. Like, you have to let go of that OCD. If you got that too, just let go of it, okay? I will also go into detail about how I found my voice and style, what worked for me, all the things. So we'll get there. So you might not have a style problem, you might have a volume problem. So if you've made 10 paintings, you might need to make 50 more. Style comes from repetition. So every painting gives you information about yourself, and this is true. So this is where you might have seen a lot of videos where they talk about internal work. Internal work. You gotta do the internal work. Excuse me. I know it's ugly. I know it's painful. I know it's not pretty. You don't want to do it. It feels like a waste of time. And that was me too. I didn't want to do it. And I fought and fought and fought. And that's probably why it took me 2 to 3 years to figure out my style and voice. So don't be me. Every painting, like I said, gives you information about yourself. I liked that. I hated this. I want to do more of that. I'm never going to do that again. Like, that's discovery. That's play. That's how you're going to figure it out. Okay. Also, another thing is following your sources too literal. A great place to start with being more free, especially because a lot of us artists, I think, are control freaks. Fun fact, total control freak here, okay? I'm trying to recover from that. Art has definitely taught me to take a step back and kind of let go of that control. So if you're painting from photograph, ask yourself, what can I change to make this mine, right? Like, we're going to see a photo of, like, for instance, like if there's a photo of this tube, okay? How could you change the background? Like, behind you, like right now, you're going to see my lovely trash bag. You're going to see some of the flooring. To make this your own, start with a totally solid color background, right? This is just an example. Composition. You could totally not draw this as it's in this position, but it's more up in this position, right? Like, you get composition, hopefully. Texture. Okay, well, this looks smooth. Maybe you want to put some, what would be something that would give it texture? Maybe you want to use some modeling paste and some stencil that's like honeycomb, and you want to just give it texture first before you paint that on there, right? That's different composition. Maybe you like using stencils. Maybe you don't like using stencils. This is going to be your time to play and figure it out if you like stencils, if you like modeling paste. Let's see, patterns. You could do like a textured pattern in the background before painting on your subject, using different brushwork. So, or different mediums, like mess around with some charcoal first, and before you get to paint, just make sure you do a spray fixative first so it doesn't smudge, or don't use a spray fixative and you like the smudge. Like, I don't know. What kind of mood could you give this piece right here? Maybe it's a nice bright background. Well, you want to make it moody, so you make it darker. You give it a shadows, like, I don't know. That's just an example. A totally different way to change what you're seeing visually into a language of your own, right? The language of your own is going to be the textures you use, the colors you use, the patterns you put on there, all of those things. So the reference is just going to give you information. It shouldn't make every creative decision for you. So hopefully that was descriptive and helpful with that section. It was not following your references too literal. That's definitely a great way to play with your art supplies and your creativity, okay? Number 4, you're ignoring what keeps showing up. This is huge, okay? Okay, so I'm going to show you guys just some things I should probably put this pen down because it's driving me crazy. I'm going to point some things out that I've done and how I started noticing that I kept doing certain things. I wish I could show you the paintings up on the wall. I started allowing myself to do a lot of play when it came to sketchbooks. I started buying these bulk, like when they're on sale, I don't know, like Hobby Lobby, places like that, where I can get them for like $3-4 a pop, and I could do whatever I wanted in them. I did start doing like a daily thing of like a sketch a day that really helped along the journey. But like I said, it took me 2 to 3 years to figure out my style and my voice because, again, I didn't want to waste my supplies. So about 1.5 years into my painting journey, I was loving what I was painting, but I was also painting what I loved others were painting. Does that make sense? Like I was stuck in mimic mode or whatever you want to call that. So I decided to start using my sketchbook to do subject matter that I liked, that I knew I wanted to paint, or that had symbolism to me, that had meaning, right? So even down to patterns, colors. So here's just some ugly stuff. My sketchbook is like, not pretty, not perfect. Things are weird. They're wonky, right? Like I loved the polka dots that I made in this. I liked using the shimmery watercolors. But this is for play. I don't use shimmer in my actual paintings. That literally 9.99% of the time, I don't use shimmer, glitter, anything. I have in a few of my paintings prior to finding my voice and style. But again, play is what's going to help you find what is you, right? Making random marks, just moving your pencil, your mediums, your charcoal, whatever you're using, it doesn't have to make sense. You might end up liking like literally just one tiny section of the painting and you're like, wow, I love how that turned out. I like the lines, I like the colors, I like the polka dot. Like as you mess around with your mediums, you're going to realize what you are drawn to. Me, I absolutely love the black, the carbon black specifically, which is a matte black. I like black with the bright neon, right? Like the blues definitely. This one I was trying to get myself in the mood to play with my supplies, right? Like I was telling myself play because I just wasn't having it that day. So these are not great pieces of work, but right here in this little area, I love this right here. So I could definitely remake that if I wanted to in something. I don't know. This was a sketch that I did and I actually turned this into a print. Now see, that's where things like this are also really cool because if you do end up liking it or loving it, you can create a print with it. There's nothing wrong with that. This one was a play piece. I was trying to use the shimmery watercolors again that I had got. And sometimes if you go on Pinterest, you can also see what other people are doing for abstract studies. And if you like the colors, the shapes, the designs, anything they're doing, try it. That's what these sketchbooks are for. This one is because I have this like love of vintage things and I had ordered some like, what do you call it? Like sticker packs or whatever. And I just included those in there because I like the feel that it gives. I love textures, especially visual textures, not so much physical textures, but I do love physical textures, just not a ton of it in my artwork. And then there was like this little study that I did. I liked the orange color with like the blue greens that I got going on here. I love anything from like 20s, 30s design, like Art Deco. So I was practicing different Art Deco. So anything that you gravitate toward visually, study it, practice it, put it in your sketchbooks. Like this is going to be how you're going to figure out your voice and your style is literally play, self-discovery. But it does take time and it can take quite a bit of work. Like I said, it took me a couple years. I love doing pen sketches of structures. I like to look up just different shapes, designs, things that I love. I love vintage lights. Why? I don't know. I love lamps. I love vintage furniture. Everything about Art Deco, I love. So I did some pen sketches. Sometimes I want to try out new mediums that I find out about, and I would like to just mess around with them. So that was what this one was. I also turned that one into what do you call it? A print. This one I also turned into a print. So, I mean, you could literally do anything, like anything you want. This one was just a watercolor play. This one was a lot of fun. This magnolia that I did. And then I did this owl, and I wanted to play with gold leaf that day. It just felt like I wanted to, so I sketched it, the owl, and then I did some watercolor. That one I also turned into a print, which was fun. I use my sketchbook a lot for notes. I don't know if people do that like normally, but for me, it's a way for me to kind of keep track of what I'm thinking, feeling, what I'm drawn to, all the things. So on this day, my sketch was literally a bunny that I did in 2 seconds because I didn't have time to really do a sketch a day for that day. But in my notes on here, I put, I want to create art that mixes pop art, realism, art deco, and abstract. So as I was working through this process, I have found things that I like, things that I don't like. It's so hard to explain. And then let's see, this thing says 10 things you may not know about me. So I guess I was making a list of 10 things that people might not know about me. Kind of random, have no idea. This one was, I think, a study from somebody else's piece. So this was not out of my head. This was something I saw that I painted. So just to clarify that, I'm not taking like, not saying that this is my artwork. I mean, yes, I did that, but it was like me following somebody else's art thing. This one I was using, what are those things? Charcoal? I think that's what it is. It's making a giant mess all over my hands. This one I was playing with just different colors, seeing what I liked together, what I didn't like. This was fun. I saw an idea similar to this on Pinterest up here. I didn't finish it, but I started it. So I was like, that's kind of cool. It's fun. It reminds me of like when I was on the phone when I was a kid and I would sit there and doodle and just make different shapes and whatnot. This one, I saw one of the, is it a fuchsia? Is that what these are called? I love these. When I was a kid, I used to love these. I would pull them off the thing and like play with them. I don't know. I just thought they looked like ballerinas. So I did a watercolor of one of those, and I did turn that one into a print as well. So I did some vintage keys. I did a vintage doodle of some cool house that I saw on somebody's social, which I thought was cool. And then I linked their channel. Hopefully you guys can see that. I linked their channel. I was working with the jelly plate. I was doing some prints with the jelly plate, and hopefully you guys can see that. I don't even remember doing this page, but I really like it. That's cool. You can definitely see some of the marks, the mark making. That's definitely like my marks, So the more mark making you do, the more you're going to start recognizing what you create. And it's funny because at first I was like, mine isn't as pretty as other people's marks and their asemic writing. Mine doesn't look as pretty as theirs. But to be honest, people literally sit down and practice their asemic writing. Like they will do it over and over and over until they like feel like they've narrowed it down so that they could use it in that specific way over and over again in their artwork. But like what you're doing, don't hate it, because what you're doing is literally you. It's coming from inside you. Putting yourself down, because that's what's killing your artistic creativity. It's putting a damper on you finding your voice, okay? So get over it. So tulip and fern, this was something I saw that I wanted to paint. So I painted it. And then I wanted to practice with my calligraphy pen because, like I said, I was totally on that like 20s, 30s kick, and I love calligraphy pens. I haven't really done a whole lot of it. I was doing watercolor floral, and sometimes these were things that I saw on Pinterest, and I was like, oh, I want to try that. So again, not taking full credit for. So just keep going. Like, take your sketchbooks seriously. Like, stop telling yourself that you're like not capable of figuring it out, because you will. If I feel stuck, if I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, or if I need inspiration and ideas, I do creation week. At my studio, I set up this giant table right here. I pull out all of the supplies that I have. I bring out all of my paper that I want to work on. I will play with all the mediums. I'll play with the jelly plate because you can come up with different textures, layering, like different images. You're basically creating your own collage paper at the same time, which is really cool. The heavy gloss gel on watercolor paper on like 15, 20 sheets. And that way I could just, any colors I was drawn to, I would pick like the first 4 or 5 colors and I would just start laying it down on the paper. If there was something I felt drawn to draw on there, shape wise, texture wise, like spray paint, like you name it, I did it. But that is literally how I found my voice and my style, was creation week. And that's what I call it, because it was like I had the biggest, most important breakthrough when I did creation week. And that was like, I don't even, a few months ago. And then I finally figured it out. So I can kind of show you guys a couple of examples by what I mean. You're going to find what you like and what you don't like in the things that you're experimenting with during creation week. So for instance, these were some of the jelly prints that we had done. Maddie did her own. So these were just some of the tissue paper, it's tissue paper that we used for different jelly plates. But the colors are what I literally figured out. Colors, patterns, the subject matter that I wanted to paint. So this piece right here is actually the background to the big painting of Willie Nelson, which I still have to finish the TV on. So I already had in my sketchbook the one that I had just shown you, where I had taken notes about I wanted to paint, a few of the top influential men that I grew up seeing, and put them on like a vintage TV. So I have figured out the colors that I love to use. Okay. I have figured out textures, patterns, themes, which I love anything vintage. So 60s, 70s is my absolute favorite. I figured out that I love painting monochromatic, but it's typically the subject, meaning it's who I am painting. I like to paint them in monochromatic scale, but I also love, it just adds that layer to the piece. I love having, like, even on this one right here, out that I really, really enjoy a solid background. Let's see, here's one that I haven't painted on. I love making abstract backgrounds, but I also love solid, okay? But there will be more on this. I love butterflies, florals, portraits, all the things, and all of it has meaning to me, right? Like, as you're going through creating like studies, or if you do creation week or your sketchbooks and do a sketch a day, you're going to start figuring out what these things mean to you. Say you like polka dots. There's a reason you like polka dots. You need to sit down and remember why you like polka dots, why you're drawn to it. What does it remind you of? What are you thinking of when you're making them? Why does it feel good to you to create that? When you notice things that you're enjoying doing, that you're enjoying during the creating process, take notes. Write it in there. Make sure you do that, because those are the things that are going to show up over and over and over again in your process. Okay, it's going to help you find your style. That I found out when I was actually creating these mock-ups, the crazy little abstracts. I like charcoal, love charcoal, already knew that. But the way the ink that I was using, this blue, the way that it ran across and bled into The charcoal, I loved it. Like, it's a very thick, I don't know. I just loved it. Okay. I haven't figured out exactly why yet, but when I figure it out, I'll let you know. So that's why I kind of left that area alone, because I loved how it looked. It's just, I love it. Anyway, so those of you that know me, you could look at both of these and you could probably say which one reminds you of me, right? Like, I was really trying to force myself to do this style. I see so many artists do this style where they make this crazy abstract background and then they carve out with their opaque, solid color. They carve out the subjects, right? Like the subject matter. And I have a hard time covering what I love, which what I love is abstract crazy messes with subjects on top, like, or bold backgrounds with subjects on top. So it took everything in me to force myself to cover the background with a solid color with this. But I made myself make that piece so I could say, okay, I like this, or I had that like final, I drew the line in the sand, like, that's not for me, right? Like, I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, like, this is something you could probably pick up and see it like D&B, like the colors, all the things. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love these colors, but it's not the color palette that just makes me feel like I'm at home, if that makes any sense. So my freest work is what gives me the sense of feeling like I'm at home. But basically, by playing with all of my supplies, I started to figure out what colors just were me. And I love these earthy tones. And the reason I love the colors that I love is because I grew up in Arizona. And the colors just, it's so beautiful and so neutral and grounded. And that's also what the 60s and 70s also feel like to me, all the way down to the music. I mean, everything, the fashion, all the things. So I just feel like I'm at home, right? When I think of the 60s, the 70s, the colors, the patterns, all the things. And that's what I'm drawn to. So let me show you guys actually, I can show you two of the pieces that I finally finished. I mean, there's more, but I don't want to bombard you with like my work, Like, this to me feels like home. My subject is monochromatic. The phone has a huge representation for me. Like, there's so much meaning behind people on phones and florals, like all the things. Everything in that piece is just like about communication and the inner voice. Like, there's so much to it, right? So again, like I said, it's a lot of work of figuring out who you are, what you love, why you love it, what feels right to you, I finished, so this vintage TV basically is what's going to be on the Willie Nelson and the Sam Elliott paintings. So that way you guys kind of have an idea as to what I was talking about. Like, vintage, all of this, just like, it makes me feel at home and at peace. And because every time I went to my grandparents' house, they had John Wayne movies playing 24/7. That was the only thing on. When I walked in their house, it smelled like bacon grease. Like, I mean, you literally felt like you lived in the Western times. I mean, it was a whole nother world. I loved going to my great grandmother's house. Absolutely loved it. Like, filled with owl paraphernalia everywhere. Like, hence the reason I did an owl painting with the vintage bubble frame glass, because it just, again, it makes me feel at home. It takes me back to my childhood, when you didn't have to worry about anything. So hopefully that helps. I know I've like kind of talked a lot, but I'm trying to like share with you what has worked for me and how was able to find my voice and my style. But I'll keep going with my notes because I know I totally went on my own little thing in more detail, And hopefully I didn't confuse you more. Okay, so what you keep doing over and over and over in your paintings, okay? Like what colors you keep reaching for, like I said, what mediums you navigate toward. But doing creation week, you're going to figure out a lot. You're going to figure out a lot of things that you didn't know that you liked or that you could ever like, okay? Whatever you're drawn to, whatever subject matter you're drawn to, try it in different directions. Maybe you like to paint horses. Maybe paint a horse running in the wind. Maybe paint a horse that's looking down. Horses have moods. Just saying, you could do different moods of horses, okay? Wanting my paintings to feel, this for me is huge. I wanted to paint the feeling of being home. And home to me is my inner world, my, my safety, right? Like it's my safe space. It's where my memories are held. I can communicate with myself, like I don't have to worry about, is the person on the other line going to perceive how I'm communicating the way I'm trying to portray it or come across, like coming home is ultimately like what I paint. I don't know, the feeling I want to paint. Okay. So those weren't random choices. Anything that I paint now is not random choices. And anything you do as you're creating in your sketchbooks, the paintings you're working on now, like those are all clues, to get you to the ultimate scenario, which is finding your voice and style, right? Number 5, you're afraid to make bad art. This was me to a T. I'm sorry, guys. This thing is like wobbling all over the place. You have to give yourself permission to make paintings that don't work. I already went on a rampage about this because if every painting has to be sellable, postable, beautiful, perfect, like you stop experimenting and you're not going to let yourself grow and find who you are, right? So experimentation is where style develops, okay, ultimately. Think of it as your soul work, right? Like figuring out who you are, right? What you love, what you don't love. Here's what I want you to do this week. Paint 3 different ways, okay? Painting number 1, paint it naturally. Painting number 2, change something dramatically. Could be colors, could be some weird texture, like throw it in there, a weird background, weird brushstrokes you're not used to doing, a weird composition that you don't normally do. And then paint it for 3. If nobody ever saw this painting except for me, what would I do differently? Definitely ask yourself that, because that helped me a lot with those sketchbooks. Like I never thought I would show those ever, but right now I'm literally showing those to the world just to show you guys, like, you can suck in your freaking sketchbooks. Like, duh, you got to do it. You're going to put all 3 together and then you're going to ask, which feels most like me? Well, here's that example that I told you guys. Which one felt like me? This one didn't. This one felt commercialized. This one didn't feel natural to me. This one, the colors, the textures, which I can't wait to use this piece in one of my paintings. Yeah, I love it. So you're going to find out which one of these 3 feels most like you, right? What did I enjoy doing? So what did you enjoy doing in that process of making those 3 different pieces? What choice do I want to repeat? So if there was things in there that you have to do again, like I mentioned with the ink and the charcoal, I had to include that because it just felt right, okay? Those answers become your clues to your style. Okay, so if you're watching and thinking, okay, I understand all this, but I learn better when I actually watch somebody, paint and go through like the whole process and decision making. That's exactly why I started creating my online painting tutorials. So I think I have one on the website right now. I'm working on recording for more of them, but you can actually paint alongside me, see how I take references and turn them into finished paintings, and how I make color choices, how I build layers, make changes, and work through parts that don't go exactly according to plan, which is huge because that used to be one of my biggest fears. If I screw up, I totally effed up the whole painting, right? Like, it's trash, throw it away. Like, I had that horrible mindset too, but I want people to learn to be able to work through those and know that no, you did not totally destroy your painting. Literally 99.99% of the time, you can fix it, right? It's fixable, changeable, correctable, cover upable, like all the things. So yeah, because I don't want you to learn how to paint exactly like me. I want you to learn enough techniques that you can start figuring out on how you paint. I don't want to give you my style, but I want to help you uncover yours. I will put a link to the current painting tutorial that I do have up. But yeah, I'll put the link to the current painting tutorial below. So if you'd like to paint with me. And I want you to, oh yeah, I want you guys in the comments. Please, please tell me something in the comments. What's one thing that keeps showing up in your artwork? Maybe it's color, maybe it's texture, patterns, subject matter. Tell me what keeps showing up in your artwork. And then let me know too if you've already found things that, like, the meaning behind some of these textures or patterns or subject matter that you found that you like love creating. If you're an artist who's trying to find your voice, grow creatively, or even turn your art into something more, definitely subscribe. Come hang out with me here. I'm sharing what I'm learning as I build my own art business and continue figuring this out too. So I'd love to have you here. I hope this video was helpful. Sorry I kept like reading my notes. I'm a note person. So yeah, I like to share all the things. I like to keep on track with what I'm doing because otherwise I like go on a rampage like I did and I lose track. I get carried away. So it's hard for me to stay on straight focus on one thing because I get so excited. I could literally sit here and talk art all day long with all the artists. Like, I love everything about it. But if this video was helpful, please give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you learned anything from this video, if it helped you in any way, or was it just the same old video that everybody else talks about, you know? Like, I mean, I guess as I was watching videos, I felt like every time they'd be like, oh, you have to do the internal work and da 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 da. Like, I just felt like I kept hearing that over and over, but I wasn't figuring out how to do the internal work. I hope like what I shared with how I went about it, I hope that was helpful for you. Figure out your voice or your style. Allow yourself to have that creative week. And if you guys want me to film a creative week when I do get stuck, you know, when I have those moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what collection I need to start or how to start a new collection or a new theme series or something, like if I need to get going in a new direction, I'll sit down for a whole week. I'll block that whole week off. I won't stress myself out with, you know, create videos I need to make, reels I need to make, posts I need to make, you know, working on paintings, like all the things. I will block out everything and make that week my top priority to be out in the studio for 5-6 hours at a time and just create. So yeah, if you guys want to see a video, I totally forgot I was going with that. If you guys want to see like creation week and how it works in my studio, let me know and I will gladly record it. You might hear me ripping butt here and there. You might hear like, you might watch me eat some food. Like, I don't know. I'm an open book and it's just me. So, but yeah, thanks for hanging out with me guys. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next video.